I have two follow-up questions about the taxes. First one would be, if I am a U.S. company and I own a business, a manufacturing company based in Canada making these glasses, and I am shipping them back to the U.S., to customers in the U.S., what type of taxes would be involved at that point? Who would pay them?
Well, if to use your example of manufacturing glasses in Canada and selling them to customers in the U.S., as a manufacturer in Canada, initially you would pay, let's say you're in Ontario, you would pay HST on your raw materials that you're purchasing.
Okay.
But you would then file to get a credit for that. If you were selling those glasses to customers in British Columbia, you would collect 12% harmonized sales tax. So if you had $500 worth of inputs and paid $60 of HST on the inputs, and then you sold $1,000 worth of glasses and you collected $120 of HST, you do a net settlement to the government. 120 less 60, you send $60 to the government. However, if you're selling those same glasses into the United States, they would be, and I'm not the tax expert here, so Doug will correct me if I'm wrong, but the term used is they are zero rated. They are taxable, but the tax rate is zero. So you collect zero tax, you've paid $60 on your input, you file your tax return, net settlement, government sends you $60 back.
Okay, sounds pretty simple. Sounds a little bit like our tax code. Are there certain goods and services in Canada that are heavily taxed? Like alcohol, other gas, what are some things? Is food taxed? Would a consumer pay taxes on food?
Not at the grocery store, but at a restaurant you would.
Okay,
Yeah.
so similar to here.
Gasoline?
Yeah, the most heavily taxed item would be gasoline. I think the taxes represent 80%, or I shouldn't say this, but 70-odd% of the total cost.
Ooh.
It's pretty big. GST, HST, whatever, the only difference being harmonized province, non-harmonized. Basic foods, no. Processed foods, certain processed foods, yes, because they're not considered basic groceries. So if you take a case of pop, yes. You take milk, no. And that's why the GST, what people simplify it saying most goods and services, and that's true, most goods and services. But medical services are not taxable, they're exempt. Anybody who runs an exempt business doesn't get to claim, they still have to pay GST or GST or HST on whatever their rent or whatever their operating costs are, but they don't get the input credit back. So that's why we have this subtlety of, like, we have taxable goods but going to foreigners, no tax to them, but it's zero tax rate. And then there's a few select industries that don't even, they're really exempt, like the financial institutions. You don't pay VAT on your interest payments to the bank, things like that. There's some services the banks offer that you have to charge tax on, but generally speaking, basic foods, medical services, financial services, no value-added tax.
Other items, two other items that are heavily taxed are cigarettes and liquor.
Usually 10% more.
10% more?
There's a 10% levy on liquor.
Wow.